folks don't like see that paper. I had to tell them, man, I'm rich. I ain't doing nothing illegal. Google me. Get that paperwork check out.
Hit the bell icon for more stories. This story takes us to Oxford, Mississippi. 32-year-old Dominique Clayton, known affectionately as Lucy, was a resident of Oxford, Mississippi. She was known as the life of the party to her loved ones and was missed by everyone anytime she wasn't around. Dominique was a single mother to 4 children, all under the age of 14. Her 2 boys and 2 girls were her entire world, but life presented its challenges. Finances were tight, and managing everything on her own was no easy task. In August 2018, she entered into a relationship with 38-year-old Matthew Kinney, an officer in the Oxford Police Department and a member of the esteemed Mounted Patrol team. Matthew had dedicated 4 years of service to the department and had even received the prestigious title of Mounted Patrol Officer of the Year. On the surface, Matthew seemed like the ideal and dependable partner for Dominique. However, a significant issue loomed over their relationship: he was married. Following the tragic death of his first wife, purportedly by suicide, Matthew had entered into another marriage and had a child. In addition to having teenage children from his first marriage, Matthew and Dominique had to secretly meet up to maintain their relationship, primarily meeting for intimate encounters. Despite the secrecy, Matthew did provide financial assistance to Dominique, helping her purchase a car, and there were discussions of him contributing to her rent and aiding her in purchasing a house. They operated as a kind of partnership, but Dominique had doubts about the long-term prospects of their relationship. Dominique's friends mentioned that she suspected she might be pregnant. However, she was apprehensive about revealing this to Matthew, as he was adamant about keeping their affair hidden from his wife. She was unsure of how he would react to the news. She would later go on to inform him that she might be pregnant. According to Dominique, while Matthew displayed possessive behavior, he was unwilling to commit openly to her or make their relationship public. At the same time, he didn't want to end their involvement either. Matthew later claimed that he had attempted to break things off with Dominique, but she allegedly threatened to expose their affair to his wife. The exact truth remained unclear, but it was evident that Matthew was feeling trapped, as if the walls were closing in on him. Unfortunately, Dominique's hopes for a happily ever after were not materializing as she had anticipated. On the night of May 18, 2019, it was raining when Dominique contacted Matthew for a ride to her car. Matthew, who was on patrol duty in downtown Square at the time, agreed to pick her up. Afterward, Dominique drove back to her residence and contacted Matthew during the journey. Since her children were staying with a relative over the weekend, she was home alone that Saturday night. At the conclusion of his shift, Matthew returned to a barn where the police horses were housed and intentionally left his mobile phone there, presumably to prevent his movements from being traced. Subsequently, he returned to his marked patrol car and made his way to Dominique's house, discreetly parking the vehicle nearby. Matthew entered the unlocked home during the early hours of May 19 and discovered Dominique asleep in her bed. Quietly retreating to his car, he retrieved his loaded police-issued 9mm pistol and then returned to his girlfriend at approximately 2:05 a.m. Without warning, he fired a single shot at her head, resulting in her death. After leaving Dominique's lifeless body behind, Matthew drove back to the barn to retrieve his phone and casually sent her a text message at 2:20 a.m., going on with life as if nothing had occurred. On his way back home, Matthew disposed of the shell casing from his jammed pistol by throwing it out of the car window onto the street. Unfortunately, the casing was never recovered, leaving behind an important piece of evidence. Later that Sunday afternoon, Dominique's 4 children returned home from their weekend away at around 2 p.m. In an innocent attempt to play a prank on their mother, Dominique's 8-year-old son was instructed to enter the house first with a toy snake and scare her. However, instead of finding his mother ready to be surprised, he made the heartbreaking discovery of her lifeless body. Overwhelmed by the tragic scene, he had to go outside and break the devastating news to his siblings. As investigators began their work, they swiftly uncovered the affair between Dominique and Matthew. Recognizing the potential conflict of interest, they called in the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation to take charge of the case and ensure an impartial investigation. That night, Matthew was brought in for questioning. While he acknowledged the existence of the affair, he vehemently denied any involvement in Dominique's death. Astonishingly, he even suggested the possibility of suicide, despite the absence of a gun at the crime scene. The investigation continued, with the truth hanging in the balance. The mounting evidence against Matthew began to paint a damning picture. Security footage from Dominique's house captured his patrol car arriving and leaving, further implicating him in the crime. The following day, Matthew was taken into custody and arrested for the murder. This shocking revelation sent shockwaves through the Oxford Police Department and intensified the already strained race relations in the state.
I was like, see that paper. I had to tell him, man, I'm rich. I ain't doing nothing illegal. Google me. Get that paperwork check out. On gang.